Hello, speech class. And for this final level 5 speech, the persuasive speech, I want to talk to you all about tornadoes again. Yes, I know I did it for my informative speech, but there's a way I want to persuade you guys about stopping them, slowing them down, trying to just get them to chill out here and quit going through all these populated areas and killing dozens and dozens of people. As for example, in my attention getter, for 2020 tornadoes this year, through March, there were about 180 tornadoes compared to 154 in 2018. March 3rd, 2020 was a particularly deadly day where about 25 people died in the Tennessee tornadoes that went through Nashville, and this was according to some insurance website that surveyed all the damage and came up to some staggering numbers here. To preview what I'm going to be talking about is just our problem here in the statistics of why this is a big problem, ways to stop it, and for the solutions, and third, just the final assessment and the vote of if you guys like these ideas. For my problem, how much devastation is actually being caused? Well, let's just dive right into that. On this PowerPoint that I have, I'm going to show a little bit of statistics according to the National Weather Service of just what has happened based off of 2020 so far, which is actually very surprising. As we go off this chart right here from the National Weather Service, these are just tornadoes this far. I think it stopped. This was March, early April. Model of what has happened so far. As you can tell, Missouri, we haven't had many tornadoes, but as you look down south through Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, Alabama, southern Arkansas, peeking over into the Carolinas, and also including Tennessee, it's just all these tornadoes. I mean, most of them, they were small and minor, but for these major ones I'm about to show you next is actually very shocking. Biggest month so far has been April of 2020, which is particularly not the peak of tornado season. Peak of tornado season's in May or some. May, like late May, middle May, somewhere in there. From the April 12th through 13th outbreak of this year, as you can tell, the tornadoes are stretched from Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, having multiple deaths, multiple tornado watches and warnings, and confirmed tornadoes. I believe these red ones and like the dark black, these are the more violent tornadoes that produced EF4, EF5 damage and cost people millions. And the sad thing about that is this was around Easter, and with the coronavirus also happening, this is just not the time to have another problem like this. Now that you see the problem behind all these storms and the tornadoes and all that, I want to talk about the solutions, how to stop these, slow them down, whatever you want to call it. For this, I also on the PowerPoint, I have a rocket launch video from Reed Timmer. He's a professional storm chaser, has PhD from University of Oklahoma and all this stuff. He had built this vehicle called Dominator 3, a tornado intercept vehicle, basically, that drives in the middle of the storms with all this technological advancement of like anemometers and barometers, like catching wind speeds and everything, downdrafts in the tornadoes. For this, he launched a rocket in the tornado with scientific instruments. But if I was to do this and find a way to stop these tornadoes, I would use the rocket, but then strap some kind of bomb to it, because to equal out or overload the tornado, that can be very possible by launching that into it, exploding it at the right moment, at the right time, and just disrupting the whole storm and causing it to go up in the air. And here's what I mean by that. You can tell the tornado is just right here, right behind them. And there went the rocket taking off. Yeah, as I was saying that kind of just proves everything that. Yeah, and by the way, this was real. This did happen. But to just show you, they made a video game based off of that, and they just did a little simulation of it. For my second solution, heater cool down the storm. I mean, it seems just so basic, but it's very possible. Popular science says to stop a tornado from forming, just heat the cold downdraft until it's cold no longer. How would one do this, you ask? Simple. Blast it with beams of microwaves from a fleet of satellites. I kind of thought that was a crazy idea too, but when you hear heat up the storm, how are you going to heat it up? I mean, blasting it with microwave beams sounds very logical now. The satellites would collect the solar energy, transform the microwaves, and send it down to Earth, send a beam down to Earth, and vice versa. If we wanted to cool down the updraft of the storm, we could try to freeze it out. Discovery Channel did a little video on just this idea also of the bomb and the cold air and the warm air, and I'm just gonna let them talk about it also. Oh wait, note, this was from 2013. It's a little old, but it is a few months after a 2.6 mile wide tornado went through El Reno, Oklahoma, killing 3 experienced storm chasers that I did not personally know, but watching the show Storm Chasers, I felt like I knew them in person.
Tornadoes are ravaging the middle of the United States, and since 1900, their numbers have increased. What if there was a way to stop them in their tracks? Hello world, Trace here for D-News. Tornadoes have been hitting across the plains, destroying property and uprooting families, and now hurricane season, that's coming too. These giant storms are an unstoppable swirl of destruction, careening across the surface of our planet. And we asked ourselves, with all this technology around, shouldn't we be able to do something about it? It's 2013, people. Let's fix this. If you watched Anthony's video on how tornadoes happen, then you've got the basic idea. Cold air hits warm air, which causes a swirling cycle, which sometimes grows in speed and power until it becomes a tornado. 80% of tornadoes are only an F0 or an F1, which means about 0.1 miles wide, and the same amount of energy is around 300 gallons of jet fuel. But there are other ones. Monsters, like last week, where there was a 2.6-mile wide tornado with 20 times the energy of that average tornado. Storm chasers across the nation are learning more about tornadoes each season and making that data available to NASA and other weather specialists for research. A few of our commenters, like Lucilla, asked if it would be possible to try and disperse a forming tornado by releasing explosives into the air in its approximate location. Aside from the destruction, that's actually a really great question. If we look at how tornadoes are formed, though, experts say it probably won't work. We'd need a bomb that had more energy than the tornado does, and then we'd have to put it in the exact right spot at the exact right time. And tornadoes really only last a few minutes. Even the big ones are jumping around constantly. So a bomb just wouldn't really be viable. Physicist Bernard Eastland imagines using a satellite to shoot powerful microwaves into the storm, heating the cooler air and causing the swirling weather to dissipate, which might actually work, except of course that we'd be microwaving the sky. Other plans to stop tornadoes have us shooting cold water at them or even flying a giant airplane into it to dissipate that mass of swirling air. There are so many ideas, but the plans are still pretty much science fiction. Storm expert Karen Kosiba from the Center for Severe Weather Research in Colorado and guest star from Discovery's Storm Chasers told IO9 that her ideal tornado dispersal system would switch the wind direction of the funnel somehow. She wasn't sure of the physics of how that would work, but the best plan would be to stop the funnel if we can. The majority of damage from these storms is not from the pressure changes or from the rain, but actually flying debris. She says the rain's actually kind of important, so we wouldn't want to stop that anyway. For now, we'll just have to settle for the significant increase in warning times in the last few decades from this research, and also, better weather satellites and better ways to protect ourselves. Those are good too. But 75% of all tornadoes on Earth touching down in the United States every year. We've got a lot to study. So how do you think we could stop a tornado? Maybe your ideas could help us. Share your idea with us in the comments. Subscribe here on YouTube for more D News twice a day, every day.
That just kind of sums up what else I was. That just all of my solutions that I was saying. Yeah, they might sound crazy, but maybe in just 5, 10, 15 years, this might be possible. But then again, even with our advancements in technology, it might not happen at all. To conclude this up is your vote. Just the review, shooting a cold rocket, cool it off, heat it up, whatever we can to stop these tornadoes from going through populated areas, destroying people's lives, destroying property, killing people. I mean, these things are serious. They've been going on for many, many years, and we still don't know how to stop them, slow them down. We don't have a clue. We don't have all the information behind it yet. And just to ask for your vote, yes or no, if these ideas would work and all that. And close this out from a quote from Jenna Bloom from the book The Storm Chasers. Severe weather is just nature's way of correcting an imbalance.